I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to the Pint podcast.
What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Pint podcast and Pod and a Pint episode 14. We are in Shenanigans. The first member of the first edition was Robbo. Now you're on episode 14, and yeah, those 13 have flown by, but nice to have you back on, lad.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and flying,
Guinness.
mate. Well in, yeah, cheers.
Guinness in hand as usual. But how's everything going since I last saw you? Obviously, we talked about ticket prices, which we'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, how's you been? Every time I open my phone, your face is at the overlap.
Sorry,
everyone. Talk about fan debate and all that.
I know. I mean, I'm sick of my own voice, so I'm presuming everyone else is as well. But yeah, no, look, it's nice to go on there. It's been a good platform for the stuff I do. In particular, I feel like going on there really did sort of help with the ticket price debate. I brought it up sort of in one of the shows, and then, whether it influenced it or not, I'd like to think it did. They then did a whole show on the price of football, and I know for a fact, let's just put it that way, that it was seen in areas that I would like for it to have been seen.
That's what you
want, put it that way. And so it's good, and it's not the only thing that Spirits of Shankly is about, but it's obviously a big thing. It's a thing that our members asked us to campaign around. We have done, we will continue to do so. But it's great that it's achieved something.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's, like you said, like getting those opinions to the corridors you want them to be on. Yeah, that's the main goal, obviously, isn't it? Which we'll get onto in a minute, because we have got an open question like we always do. And to canvass your ideas about which one to do here, because they were both a bit like mad or heavy. Doug and Chippy put messages in for me, and I was like, I'm gonna have to get Robbo to pick out of these two. But you've gone for this one, and it's what's a book, movie, or piece of art that has had a profound impact on you or your life?
So, I think on this one, it's probably going to have to be a little bit deep, maybe. But I have struggled with my mental health at times, and I know I'm not alone on that. And the conversation around that is much better now than it once was. And I'm doing various bits and bobs around that. Some stuff with Edge Hill University, which will hopefully be out soonish. A podcast around mental health, which I've been doing with Chris Kirkland. Also looking to do. Can't say too much about it at the moment because we're having conversations behind the scenes, but there's something involving Spirits of Shankly, hopefully, as well, around mental health too. So around mental health, I read an unbelievable amount of books, really. I sort of got really stuck into it at one point. But the one book that I found really useful for me, and I probably need to revisit it again now, really, was the chimp paradox. So a lot of people might know about this already, but it's the idea that you've got this like inner chimp that you have to control, and it's the idea that there's different parts of your mind and different parts of your personality, and I think that largely is true. But the way Steve Peters writes the book, it's really good in that it breaks it down in a really basic way. And I was fortunate enough to interview him after I'd read the book, when he was working with Liverpool.
I was going to say, yeah.
And he was great, he was really good. You never know what people are going to be like when you interview them, obviously, but Steve was great. There wasn't sort of anything that, there was some stuff he was like, client confidentiality almost, that he wouldn't tell us like what players went to see him or things like that, but he would always talk in more general terms. But what I liked about it was, I was like, you're the expert, you've written this book, you've worked with all these top sportsmen, sportwomen, teams, etc. I was like, does your inner chimp still like jump out and you don't control it sometimes? And he was like, of course. And I think he said something like, I cut myself shaving and I'm swearing at the mirror, and that's your inner chimp, because at the end of the day, you've only cut yourself shaving and it doesn't really matter. But what he said that day as well, it really stuck with me. So he said, and I think this is one of the reasons I'm saying I probably need to revisit the book, he said that your mental health should be something that you work on like you would work on your physique or, you know, your fitness or whatever. Yeah. You know, so like you would go to the gym, in an ideal world, we would all go to the gym anyway, to work on your fitness.
Says us drinking pints of Guinness.
Exactly, yeah. But, you know, he was saying in an ideal world, you keep working on your mental health as well. So, you know, like I think about the gym paradox now, and I can't remember the whole book, obviously. There's probably bits I would need to revisit. And I think I probably will do that soon because... but I think it's really useful. Anyone who you know struggles with their mental health and struggles with the feelings and, you know, doesn't particularly like maybe some aspects of the personality at times, I think that's a really good book to get stuck into. You can pick up, read a bit, put it down. You know what I mean? You don't have to read it cover to cover. It's not hard to understand how he's done it. It's a really clever way that he's done it, and I think it's helped a lot of people. It's a bestseller, isn't it? So it obviously did. Well,
I haven't actually read that, so you've sold that to me. So there's another copy sold. So
yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. That's movies then. Have you got like one that you would pick for a film?
Probably not really. I mean, I'm very much like a typical man with, you know, like I watch, you know, gangster films and all that kind of stuff, and
war films.
Love all the Rocky films, and, you know, all the cliched stuff really. So I find myself probably revisiting a lot of those. In terms of, I haven't really watched any film. I don't want to come across all Michael Owen here, but I haven't really watched any films for a while, because I tend to be like into series more now. You know, and I'm watching that Severance at the moment.
Yeah, I've been watching it. Yeah,
it's weird, isn't it?
Mad.
So I'm onto the second series of that currently. Very dystopian and strange, but love it. It's good.
Yeah, in terms of like an idea, it is like. Obviously, it could be possible in the future, but like it's just the differences between like the lives, like just not realising.
Yeah. So for those watching, listening, who don't know what it's, you know, you have half of your brains and your personality is when you're in work, and then when you leave work, that switches off, and then you're home, and the two parts, that you're innie and you're outie,
you
don't know each other.
Yeah.
But you know, they start to suspect that something might be a bit weird and all of that, without throwing too many spoilers in. But yeah, that's good. I'm working my way through that at the moment. But in terms of films, I'd probably just say like really obvious things like, you know, Rocky, Goodfellas, Shawshank Redemption.
Classic.
You know, all of those very cliched ones I like, but all great films to be fair.
Yeah, well, I had Harry Robinson on last week, and we were talking a bit like, because he said he only just recently watched Interstellar, and have you seen that?
No.
Because that was one like when Doug first sent me this message, I was like, probably like in terms of like recent films anyway, like one where you watch it and go, that is just like an amazing like piece like of art in essence. Like that's something that like, it's obviously like so like dystopian and all that stuff, and like the stuff that goes around it, but like all of it going to like planets and like the time changes on different planets, and like you can age quick and all that shit, like all that stuff that was just thrown into there was just like incredible. So, and it's one that you can go back to and like rewatch, and it's still like as good.
I'm like a bit of a, like, not always, I mean, like, you know, I always loved like, you know, Star Wars films and stuff like that, but I think as I'm getting older, like I'm like, you know, getting into sort of melodrama stage, and I'm like, I mean, I know Severance isn't real, but equally, like, you know, I'm tending to prefer things that are, if you know what I mean. So finding myself watching more like document, like I really want to see the Led Zeppelin film that come out. Still haven't got around to watching that, but I will do. I wanted to go and watch it when it was on a fact, but I didn't get around to it. But yeah, I tend to like stuff that's real or based on real things or whatever. Like, you know, my lad started saying, and I've never watched an episode of it, and I probably never will. My lad started watching Game of Thrones and going on about how good it is.
Yeah.
No, it's not real though, is it? Which is a bit of a knobhead attitude, but you know, I'm only joking. He and everyone else is welcome to watch whatever they like. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I think it's one of them, like, if you missed it, because I didn't watch it for a few years because people kept going, oh, watch that, and you go, nah, you know, like, you rebel, don't you? You go, nah, I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
You're saying it's the best thing ever made, I'm not watching it.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Then I watched it, and it is good, but then the ending, obviously don't want to ruin the ending, but the ending weren't that great. So,
but loads, I mean, you know, I'll obviously totally contradict myself and say there's loads of stuff that I watch that isn't real, but at least feels a little bit real. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, The Sopranos isn't real, but there are gangsters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's elements there.
You know what I mean?
It's not completely inconceivable, is it?
I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. Like you're saying to me, lads, you know, sack that off and watch that. You know what I mean?
Bin now and put this on, yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of stuff kind of interests me, if you like. Like I don't even know what it is, but I caught half a trailer of something on the radio about a new gangster film that's about to come on the pictures, and I was like, okay, when I get a minute, I'm going to look at what that is, and I might go and see it, but I'm sad on it terribly because I don't know what it actually was.
All right, Sam. Well, from Sopranos to season tickets then, because if you're a season ticket holder, you would have got an email today to say that the renewable period starts now, and obviously we were on last time and we were talking about season ticket prices or just ticket prices in general around the country and how it's getting worse, and it needs to be getting better, if not leveling out at a point where you can't just keep increasing the prices. And obviously you've done a load of stuff like I mentioned before with the overlap and stuff, but yeah, do you want to talk to us about that a little bit?
You know, when that email dropped in my inbox today, and obviously it reiterates that the prices are frozen for next season at Anfield, which is fantastic. Step in the right direction, and obviously proves that the club at the very top listened, which is good and a good start. You look around the rest of the league, and Brentford are frozen, Wolves I think are going to, but you've got like Man United, you've got Newcastle, you've got Spurs a little bit by stealth that are announcing that all is rosy and they're doing X, Y and Z, but actually once you dig into it there's different ways that they're actually charging fans more money. Arsenal put theirs up, so the wide, like there's some wins and there's some losses, and Liverpool is among the wins, and I'm glad that they are, and what Liverpool have promised is to keep on talking to us really, and hopefully that will be the case. And kind of what you're saying there, Mick, like I kind of feel like there's a sweet spot somewhere where everyone is happy-ish, and I think it's a big deal, I really do, in that the fans and the club, when they're together, if you like, it just feels a nicer place, you know what I mean? Like I look at the United fans right now and they actively hate their owners with a passion. What Ratcliffe's doing in loads of different respects is absolutely terrible, and like they knew that he's not going to listen, he's going to put the prices up, and that's exactly what he's done there, and they're protesting accordingly. So yeah, I'm really pleased that Liverpool listened, really pleased that there is a dialogue there. I think the national campaign as well from the Football Supporters Association has been great. And look, there's more stuff in the pipeline. Hopefully, we don't want to just sort of stop now and say, okay, done, and then reach the same place next year. We want to do stuff in the interim. We want to start sort of lobbying different people, different groups, going at it in different ways. Letters have gone to the Premier League and things like that. More recently as well, Spirit of Shankly and the Newcastle United Supporters Trust wrote to the EFL about the cup final allocations, the cup final prices. They've offered us a conversation as well. Yeah. So, all of these things are positive because, ultimately all of these organisations could just pull up the drawbridge and say we're not even going to talk to you. So that they are talking and that they are listening is 100% a step in the right direction. And look, I always say it when I come on things like this, it's power in numbers. So if people can sign up to SOS, it's only a tenner a year. We don't only campaign around tickets, we do a lot of stuff in the community. We've got other stuff in the pipeline too. And your £10 will go to lots of great work that goes on in Liverpool communities. So all of that is detailed on our website, on our YouTube channel. I went out to sort of one of the food pantries fairly recently, sort of detailed how that works and the money from SOS that goes into that. So there's loads going on, and the FSA as well is free to join, so there's no reason not to sign up to that one. Tenner for the SOS as well. And what we're planning on as well is, something we're working on at the moment is a bit of a survey really of members and non-members, hopefully soon, just to see what other things concern people really. Because there are people still talking about on a regular basis the atmosphere, the culture, sort of maintaining that, keeping that. That is a point of difference, I think, about Liverpool compared to some other clubs. So how do we keep that culture? How do we keep that atmosphere? How do we nurture it? I totally get, and I always will get, that people from all over the world want to come and watch Liverpool. but equally, I think, you know, you've got to retain the scout's heart as well, and that's something that's in some of the club's principles too. So you've got to strike that balance, and you've got to strike the balance as well between, you know, corporate and I nearly said real fans then, but yeah. Normal fans. But you know what I mean? There's 11,000 corporate tickets at Anfield now, and I think that's a lot. And you know, there's only 27,000 season ticket holders, which as a percentage is quite low when you look at it compared to other clubs. So I think stuff like that is stuff we'll start to push on and have conversations about. And again, if people want to get involved, they can come and get involved, whether that's just signing up for a membership, or if you've got ideas, we're always open to ideas. You can get in touch with me, you can get in touch with SOS. We're always listening. It's not a closed shop by any stretch. We don't want it to be, very much not. So yeah, come and get involved. I get that it's not for everyone, by the way. You know, I get that some people just want to go to the match and don't really want to get involved in this side of it. And I know that all the way back to the Hicks and Gillette days when I remember giving out leaflets and people telling me I read the internet too much, and I was like, you might want to read it a bit too much, a bit more, mate, given what, you know, those shysters were doing to our club at the time. So yeah, the usual shout for all of that really, Mick. Yeah, if people want to get involved, get involved.
Yeah, and like you said though, it is like you said, safety in numbers in terms of like, or power. There's power in the numbers of people, so the more people are, because we're getting to the stage where, like you said, they've been going up and up and up, and then like you said, the amount of like season tickets as a percentage is quite low, but that only changes by asking why it's not higher. Do you know what I mean? If we don't say anything, they're just going to go, oh, they're happy, so we'll keep it the same.
Exactly.
It's only going to change if people come forward and go, you're taking the piss with this. What's going on? Why hasn't that changed for years?
Totally, mate. I mean, apathy is the biggest friend of a capitalist in respect of football. So, you know, if you don't shout up, if you don't speak up, they'll crack on putting the prices up. Don't you worry about that. And they don't really care. I'm not talking about Liverpool here, I'm talking more generally. But you know, but in general, there is a vibe of they don't care. You know what I mean? Let's remember that there was a Super League proposal on the table at one point, and it was fans that stopped that going through. You know, we could have had £77 tickets at Anfield. It's fans that stopped that going through. So there is power in supporters coming together, a real power. So, you know, for me, it's a no-brainer for us to do that and to get involved and to put our voice across. And Liverpool is pretty good at letting us have a voice. You know, we've got a supporters board that is in the Articles of Association. So that is something that, you know, no matter who might own Liverpool in the future, that is there, that is set in stone. And, you know, we can see from elsewhere in the league and elsewhere right across the football pyramid that there's varying degrees of how much owners of clubs want to listen to the fans. At Liverpool right now, I would say it's pretty decent compared to some other clubs.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like Gareth said, if you want to join Spirit of Shankly, then yeah, I'll put the link in the description on the video if you want to go and do that. I would urge you to do that. Let's talk about the Reds then, because I'm sure you talked about it to death, but the 5 days of PSG and Newcastle obviously going on to the Champions League in the way that we did, which you could accept begrudgingly. You could accept it because of obviously how good PSG were in the first leg, and us like smash and grab first leg. Second leg played a bit better, but still in terms of like the balance of the game, you don't want to accept it, but you can accept it. You just go, oh, no, yeah, they were decent. You just got to accept one of them. Yeah. But then like following it up with because I think there was this kind of, from certain people online, it was like, we're just going to go and win this Carabao Cup because Newcastle haven't got like the minerals, like they haven't got like the credentials behind them to go and do it, and they fucking turned up, and we didn't. No one can even complain about losing that game because we just didn't turn up in any facet that you want to measure football with. We were just pretty much shit, weren't we? We were, and I think, you know, there's a level of entitlement from anyone who thought that it was going to be the case that we just turn up, because we'd had our warning when we went to St James's Park earlier in the season. You know, they're a good side, they've got a good midfield, they've got powerful players, big players, they've got the best striker in the league right now in Isak. So for me, it was always going to be difficult, and I think Eddie Howe was a good manager as well. He's done a good job. He deserves a lot of the praise that's coming his way, albeit that, you know, Saudi Arabia have undoubtedly helped him. But
look, you know, I can't really begrudge them what they did. They deserved it on the day, as you said. That there was no point in the game from first whistle to last where I thought Liverpool were winning it. And, you know, I think you've got to have a sort of, you know, a heart of stone not to, you know, find a little bit of you thinking, well, fair play. Like, if you supported a football club all your life and never seen anything, then it's great to win silverware. I've always said that about any cup that comes your way is a good cup. I hate all this, you know, this isn't worth our time, this isn't that, this isn't the, you know, any cup I've ever seen go around this city on the top of an open top bus, you will always see little kids with big smiles on their faces and all that. And obviously, as you get a bit more weathered and cynical in your later life, you might not be as enamoured by an open top bus, but it's always someone's first parade, it's always someone's first time of seeing a trophy wrapped in red ribbons, or in this case black and white. So yeah, as you say, we didn't turn up, we ran out of steam. I think they were just they were better in the head, at the heart, and they had more in the tank as well. You know, I think that spell of the 5 games in 15 days definitely didn't help. Going to extra time definitely didn't help. Only a matter of days before. And I think we've all known, haven't we, all season long, that Arna's been relying on a core of players and has not been too keen to introduce too many from the outside. Obviously, there's the Plymouth game, and you know, we go out. There's the PSV game, which was a dead rubber anyway. But you know, he's largely relied on a core. But I was saying on the late challenge this week, you know, when you start to dig into, like, you look at the long list of the minutes, fair enough if you want to say there are moments where Endo could have played, or maybe Chiesa. Once you start digging down, no, there's not that much more, is there? You know, like, I don't think, with every respect to the lad, I don't think anyone's banging the drum saying James McConnell should have played loads or whatever, you know what I mean? So it sort of shines a little bit of a light, I think, on the depth of the squad. The fact that, you know, we will need to, and I'd be amazed if we don't do some business this summer. Obviously, we don't know what the crack is with the contracts. Lots of people seem to think they do. Until it's done and it's over and people have left or stayed, we don't know, do we? So, you know, lots of people are getting ahead of themselves on one way or another with that, really. But we just don't know. They haven't said anything. No one said anything. No one said anything concrete. I think we all think Trent's going. We all think maybe the other 2 will stay. Yeah. But we shall see, and if they don't, I mean, that's some going to try and replace all 3 of them, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, I had no qualms really about Newcastle, like I say. I mean, you've just got to suck it up and crack on and look at the fact that we're 12 points clear in the Premier League and very likely to win the thing, and we've lost 1 all season in the league. We've performed better than anyone else, obviously, that's why we're up there. And PSG, yeah, like you say, that first leg was ridiculous, wasn't it? That's the biggest smash and grab I've ever seen. I mean, Alisson was absolutely unbelievable. One of the best, if not the best performance I've seen from a goalkeeper across 90 minutes in my life. And then to actually go win the thing was just pure cheek, wasn't it? It was like, wow. It was. And then, look, I thought we were a lot better at home. I thought we gave them a game. There were a few moments where a little bit unlucky, obviously at the post and what have you. I thought we were absolutely tanked in extra time.
Yeah, we were goosed.
It reminded me of when we were playing Chelsea at Wembley, and we got extra time and like didn't even try.
Yeah.
You know, just sort of knocked the ball around in our own half, almost just waiting for pens.
It's like a reciprocal agreement, isn't it? Like, lads, should we just fucking
we'll just have a shootout. Can't run
have
anymore.
A game of shooties.
Yeah, can't run anymore, I'm done. It was one of them, really, wasn't it? And then once you got to the shootout itself, it's obviously a bit of a lottery. Bit unfortunate that it ends up at their end. Bit unfortunate that players that would have taken a kick weren't on the pitch. But, you know, McAllister was goosed, as an example.
Yeah.
You know, he would have took one, wouldn't he? You would expect he would probably score, but he couldn't have kept him on. No. He had nothing left.
Yeah.
Personally, I probably would have said I would have had Van Dijk higher up. A little bit hindsight that though, isn't it? I mean, look, if you spent 65 million or 65 to 85, somewhere between those two figures on a striker, you'd expect that he can score a pen. It's just that no one in the stadium, I suspect including him, thought that he would actually score it. Honestly, like, I mean, you know, the amount of people I've spoken to said exactly the same as me, which was, when I seen him walking up, I just didn't fancy him.
That's it.
So,
but yeah, that was going to be my next question about the minutes, because I saw you mention that on the late challenge about like the core that Arne Slot liked, and obviously there's been people saying how good our depth is, and I think it is good, but there's players that in the certain areas that he wants them to be there all the time. Maybe the replacement, if you like, isn't. It's maybe two levels below what he wants, and maybe he wants to get where it's one level below to build them up to the same level and all that stuff. But then it's hard to have two players with the same position on the same level, because they're both going to want to play. So it's always a balancing act, isn't it? But again, as well, like you said, we might only just win just the Premier League, and this is something that's kind of. This has been like floating around, and it's like I was like fuck this. I made like a little. I got me Canva up, done me like little basic shit, like word art. I was like, right, let's do a little circle. And it's like Liverpool start the season badly. Media drum up quadruple hopes, and then media and people laugh at Liverpool because Liverpool don't win the quadruple, and it's just like. It's like a vicious cycle that we've got nothing to do with, and none of, like, people might be saying online, "Oh, Liverpool going to win the quadruple," but it's either rival fans saying we might do it, or it's Liverpool fans messing. There's no way that Liverpool fans are genuinely thinking it's going to happen.
No.
And it's become this thing, obviously, because of the week we just started, and obviously the 5 days we're going out of the Champions League and losing the Carabao Cup final, where then people are like using it as a bat to beat us with, that we might only win the Premier League, and I just think that's just hilarious in itself.
Yeah, it's just that horrible, weird, you know, banter analysis really of football, which I've just got no time for. I mean, you know, nobody's won the quad for a reason, which is that it's really hard and there's too many games, and ultimately you're going to run out of steam, and you know, that's happened to Liverpool a couple of times, obviously. You know, I can remember me and Mo on the late chatting saying, it's ridiculous that this word is coming up. It's ridiculous that people are talking about it. It's incredibly hard to win anything, and to suggest that, you know, we seriously thought we were going to go and, you know, just, you know, hoover up all these trophies. And look, you know, Liverpool have had hard lines in terms of, you know, win, if you like, finish top of the Champions League group phase, league phase, and then draw possibly the best team in the competition. Mm-hmm. So, you know, is that down to Liverpool? Is that Liverpool? Like, I've seen this bottling thing now, and it's like, what have they bottled? Like, they gave PSG a game, they drew over 2 legs, and they lost on penalties. Yeah. There's nothing bottled there. And then in the final, in the Carabao Cup final, Newcastle were better. Didn't see Liverpool bottle anything. You know, Arne ended up sort of throwing shit at the wall and putting anyone and everyone on there, and they absolutely went for it, didn't they? And we pulled one back. No one was shit in the bed.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't play well. But, you know, is that because they've bottled it, or is that because they're physically and mentally tired? I would lean on the latter rather than the former. And yeah, I just hate it all, really. You know, like, I found the other day, I just had a day where I just thought, I'm just not tuning into any of it because I've had enough of it. So, you know, didn't look at any social media, didn't stick the radio on, didn't stick Sky on, because I just thought, it's so boring, this narrative. Like, only the league, are you having a laugh? Yeah. It's like, you know, this football club's been going for 132 years, and we've only won 19 league titles only in that time. Yeah. One behind Manchester United. And, you know, it looks very, very certain, very, very likely that we're going to win the 20th league title this season in front of the fans, able to celebrate in the way we've always dreamt it. Only. Fuck off. Like, you know, this is what I wanted all my going the football life. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's no only to it. The league is what I wanted at the start of the season, and is what I want at the start of any season. And anything else is a bit of a bonus. And look, you know, you go back to the expectations as well. Like, on my own podcast, I said that, I think I said third or fourth is what I think is a realistic aim for Arne in his first season in the Premier League. And here we are, counting down the weeks to when we're most likely winning the thing. Behave yourself.
It's unprecedented, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's hard. Like, you have to... And there's obviously rather fans who are saying, like... I don't want to give them too much, like, credence, though, because, like, people say, oh, don't get involved in it. And it's like... I mean, again, I think it plugs into, like, the mental health stuff as well we were talking about earlier, because if you go on there, like, I just sometimes just don't go on for days. I'll go on, obviously, and post the pod and whatever, and I'll just be like, right, I'm out of here, lads, in a bit. Because it's just not, especially like the For You page on Twitter or X or whatever.
Rage bait.
It's just shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just people going, oh yeah, worst Premier League season ever, like PGMOL title, you know, all that stuff, and it's like, if I'm in a really good mood, I can go on and scroll through and I'll be like, yeah, it's funny that. You're obviously a massive knobhead. But like, if I'm in a bad mood and I go on, that just sets you over the edge or pushes you over the edge, and it's not good for you.
I mean, look, you know, the way it's set up now on X is that, you know, if you get a certain amount of engagement on your posts, you get paid. So, you know, that brings with it people trying to provoke. Yeah. You know, I seen something a few weeks ago. Well, it was around that the first leg of the PSG game. Some big Arsenal account, well followed, and it was going on about, I've literally never seen a game so one-sided with a keeper making that many saves and then they've actually won the game. And so I just quote tweeted it and did like the stats from the Champions League final against Real Madrid when Courtois made, guess what, 9 saves, and guess what, they won. And it was like, you've never seen a game like that. Well, there's one. And it's just, you know,
and that's the sign of champions, though, isn't it? When that happens, you know what I mean?
People just pick and choose what they want to talk about to, you know, generate rage bait and to get reactions and all that kind of stuff. And I just found it incredibly tiresome. Like, it's just like, you know, like we did a post that, something got brought up in one of our pods, and to be fair, I just thought, right, I'm going to clip this. I'm going to get involved. So it wasn't even my theory, it was a mate of mine's theory. But all season long, you've the odds on City getting relegated of being like really short, and it's like, you know, so it's like, well, why is that? So we talked about it on the Late Challenge one week, and I clipped that bit and I put it on like TikTok and Instagram and called it the Man City conspiracy theory. I got loads of bites, you know what I mean? And it was like, you know, you could do that every week.
It's easy. Yeah, if you want to, you can easily do it.
But I just also don't know how you live with yourself if you do. It's like, it's not really your opinion. No. You know, you're acting. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
You're not being yourself.
Yeah. You're going, what would wind people up? Okay, I'll go and say that then. And it's like,
because I've been asked like by people, like, I'm sure you have as well, like, why don't you just do like these videos, like these type of videos, or do this? It's like, because they look like a massive knobhead. Yeah. And people were like, what's he doing?
Yeah, I've never been, it's not for me really. Like, I remember I got asked to do one where it's like, you know, you're sat opposite someone like this, almost like Smith and Jones style, and it's like, you're going head to head in a rage war or some shite, and I'm like, doing that? Yeah. No, I don't want to banter off with a United fan, thanks. Do you know what I mean? I'm all right.
Perfectly happy without it, thanks. Yeah, it is mad, like the way, I think it's just social media in general is just,
It's definitely a healthy thing to gibber.
It is.
You know, I get, like, look, you know, stuff I do or whatever, if I'm pushing a podcast or stuff for Spirits of Shankly, whatever it might be, kind of need to use it. It's a good way to get traction for things and all that. But equally, I mean, it's getting deep here now, like, but I think in general, time away from your phone is a good thing as well. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone probably needs to have a little look at that section of your iPhone where it says screen time. And go,
every Monday you get one, and I'm like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah, you're like,
it's a lesson that next week.
Do I really want to be looking at that for 8 hours a day? Probably not.
Yeah, you don't realise, do you? Because it's like, it's the putting it down, picking it back up, and then like you don't realise before you know it, you're scrolling, before half an hour's gone, put it back down, it just adds up, doesn't it? You just get drawn in,
don't you? And it's like, it's not good for the soul.
No, it's not. Well, let's talk about the overlap a little bit more, because I mentioned to you before there was a clip, and you said that you got cut off before you had your say, and I'm sure that weren't because what you had to say was shit. It was just because the clip was probably quite long. But Gallagher was talking about like us having like good players in the forward areas, and not having great players. I just wanted to see what you made of that.
I mean, look, I think first of all, let's talk about the context that he said it in. So it's the day after the cup final when Liverpool haven't turned up.
Yeah.
And it's also correct in terms of the numbers Mo Salah's posted this season are absolutely brilliant. And look, it's fantastic that Cody Gakpo and Diaz.
I wish.
I know, yeah. Cody Gakpo and Diaz are also into double figures. But lately, none of the forward line really have been performing to a level that you could be happy with. And so...
And the Gakpo injury as well doesn't
help. The Gakpo injury doesn't help, absolutely. I think he's been good this season. Yeah. And look, if you're talking about ins and outs and what we may and may not do in the summer, he isn't one where you're like, you're keeping him. Yeah. He's been great, no doubt about it. But Diaz was fantastic first half of the season, and there was lots of conversations, wasn't there, about Arna's getting more out of him and he's reinvigorated them and all this. I thought he was incredibly frustrating against Newcastle. He's in the team to take players on, to make something happen, to win you the game essentially. And too often he was just coming back inside and laying the ball off easy, and you're like, no, you're meant to be the difference maker here, mate, and you're not doing it. Why?
Do you think though that the Gakpo, sorry to interrupt you, do you think the Gakpo injury has a knock-on effect on that though? Because obviously Gakpo he played as a 9 under Klopp, and obviously loads of places, but for slot he's the left winger, isn't he? Yeah. And Diaz has been
more through the middle.
Yeah, through the middle, obviously left now and again. So having a bit of an impact, a bit of a knock-on effect with the Gakpo injury, and then you're asking Diaz to go back and do your jinky left wing stuff. But obviously he still should be able to do it to a good level.
He's capable, isn't he? We've seen him do it before, and even against Southampton, that was a bit of a weird, frustrating game, certainly first half. Yeah. But second half he came out the traps, didn't he? Because he'd had a rocket up and by the manager, no doubt. Yeah. And it was like, you should be. I don't know why you're not turning up. It's probably, like we said before, mentally, physically fatigued and all the rest of it. But I kind of didn't think it was that mad of a shout from Carragher. I know it's got lots of traction and lots of people have gone, oh my God, and all got themselves in a bit of a tiz, but I kind of saw the point. I mean, they said Suarez again. Salah,
it's wishful thinking.
Salah is, in terms of his numbers, on a different level, quite clear. You pull the numbers up, he is on a different level to anyone else. And look, you can give me mitigating circumstances around injuries and whatever else, but Jota's not being anywhere near his best.
Recently.
Núñez, there's all kinds of rumours and stories kicking around, and who knows what's true and what isn't, but however way you spin it, Newcastle played less for Isak than we played for him, and look what our player they've got on their hands. We haven't got that player. He hasn't done it enough. There's been big moments where he just hasn't cut it. I think you're letting him go. I think if there's money there in the summer and it's the right money, he's going, isn't he? Let's be honest. So, so like I say, when you start going through them like that, is it that mad of a shout? I think in a cup final, you're wanting people to turn up, you're wanting people to take control. When you're looking at it, okay, I know there's this, loads of people are getting carried away with themselves about, Suarez, oh my God, Suarez. Why do we keep saying that? Why do we keep saying it?
I don't know, I'm enjoying
Salah.
That hat-trick hero.
Salah doesn't turn up in finals is another sort of narrative of the knobhead. And it's like, well, I'm pretty sure he scored a penalty in a fucking European Cup final, didn't he?
But it wasn't open play, was it? You know what I mean?
Whatever. But you know what I mean?
It's just funny, they get into the minutiae of I've never seen the Athletic put something on today about Salah, and it was who's the most the player who's got the most impact on goal, when they score, is it 1-0 or is it putting them in the lead and all that? And it's alright, so let's just say if he didn't score any and didn't get any assist, he's got none. Do you know what I mean? You might as well just write everything off. If you're going to get down, drill down.
It's over analysis, isn't it? Let's be honest with you. I mean, there's that much thirst for football content now, and it's a lot of it, has gone to a bit of a mad place, like we were talking about before, really, just to get people clicking on it, just to get the hits in and all that, and loads of it's just not for me. And what are we saying really here about Liverpool against Newcastle? Well, No one really turned up. I mean, if you're looking for leaders on the pitch that day, I could certainly see Virgil giving it loads and trying to rally the troops and stuff like that. You saw something in Chiesa which was great to see, genuinely. I've been critical of him this season. I think there's surely a reason why the manager hasn't hardly ever turned to him. But you saw something there, didn't you? And I was made up.
Yeah.
I was made up that he has a bit of fight and fire and all that kind of stuff. And if he shows that more often, and if he shows that every week, I'm sure he'll get opportunity. Same with Elliott. You know, again, there seems to be a thing that when you look at the numbers and you look at when he hasn't used them, when he could have used them, there's got to be a reason behind that. I don't think it's definitely down to sort of Harvey himself. I imagine he does graft, or just gets that he does. I just don't think the manager particularly fancies him as a player.
Yeah.
And I think the same goes for Endo. And I don't know why, you know, said similar on my own podcast and sort of getting people in the comments, you know, not happy. I don't really get why. Like, you know, Endo has been great and is very likeable and has sort of, you know, got a bit of cult hero status, you know, putting his gum shield on and coming on and taking everyone out and all that. I love it myself. I'm made up with him. But I don't think he's a creative influence in a side, really. You know, I don't think he's a poor footballer, but who are you dropping to play him? If you can play Gravenberch, if you can get another game out of him, are you playing Endo? You bollocks.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying before, like the drop off between, like, it's that, isn't it? Like, if you've got someone a little bit more mobile, maybe, and a bit more creative than Endo, then you'd be like, yeah, you can interchange Gravenberch and
this is the thing about, you know, like, you know, we're talking here a lot about content and analysis and, you know, the type of stuff that we're exposed to on a regular basis. Like, what annoys me is, like, lots of stuff seems to be like as though it's easy. Yeah. You know, like, even in terms of, like, you know, there's, you know, the cabal of people who are obsessed with transfers. Okay, well, do you know what? Even if we did have this big pot of cash that, you know, the ownership were prepared to flash the cash, sound okay. So, like, Zubamendi or whatever, why didn't he come? Well, okay, he wanted to say, would he come now? Well, so you're dropping Gravenberch? And then there's Gravenberch stay. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these dynamics that people just seem to ignore because they can't be arsed with it. It's like, you know...
It's not footy manager. You know,
exactly. Yeah. It's like people, and it's people who want to play, and it's people who want regular minutes for the side. And it's all well and good just saying, just throw cash at the wall and bring whoever in. They don't want to just turn up and not play.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, that's why I like to think that the whole Chelsea experiment will eventually fall on its arse and, you know, prove to be an absolute joke way of running a club, because all these lads kicking around on 7 and 8 year contracts, they're going to get bored. They're going to be like to the rate, I'm not getting minutes here, and where are we going, and I'm not sure about the manager, and I don't know why we signed this anyway. Well, you signed that because it meant fucking mega bucks for you, like. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's a short career for them all, and they all want to play. And okay, it's more of a squad game now because of the sheer amount of games, but it's not easy, all this. And why do we have to pretend it is? And why, you know, there's always like black and white arguments all the time online when there's just loads of shades of grey, but no one wants to talk about that bit.
Yeah, I just think if we did go and, like, spend, like, whatever on Zubamendi, but looks like I mean, if you believe, like, transfer stuff, he's going to be going to Arsenal apparently. Yeah. But say we did splurge, like, what, 70 million on him, he's going to come in, he's going to be like, right, I'm 70 million fella, I'm starting. But then Gravenberch's done so well in that position that he's just, like, we've just been putting him in. So where does he then go? Is he then the second fiddle fella to this new fella?
And how do you keep him happy? And how do you keep him motivated? And how do you keep him playing to that level if all of a sudden he's not first choice anymore and all that? And, like, you know, again, these are real things and things that, you know, come into the management of the club and probably are being talked about behind the scenes. And it's like, look, we know that how it's run isn't to everyone's satisfaction. You know, like, it is quite a conservative approach, and it is like, we'll spend when we're absolutely sure and absolutely certain, and only at that point. And you can argue all day about the goods and the bads of that, But like, you know, I've seen people the other day, I seen something, I think it was a James Pearce piece, and then people do what they do where they pull out a bit that makes them rage and just use that little bit. And it was
sort of a throwaway line or whatever.
Yeah, I think he'd said something like about it being a self-sustaining club.
Oh yeah, I saw that, yeah.
And it was like, well, I'm not being funny, lads. Go back into history. That's exactly what we asked for.
Yeah.
You know, so when Hicks and Gillette were leveraging the club left, right and centre and putting it into financial difficulties, we were all writing pieces and we were all doing whatever, saying, we just want the club to be run within its means. Yeah. That's what's happening.
Especially with all the stuff.
Where's the fire?
Where everyone else, like, you're looking at like points deductions and like City going through all this shit. It's like the grass isn't always greener with other ownership, shall we say. I think that's you said it perfectly. Like, people want the black and white. It's like, oh, it's in that column or it's in that column, and the massive column in between we don't care about, because that's the intangibles that we can't argue about online. But it's like that area there is massive. There's so many stuff that surrounds it. There's
just some genuinely banana stuff out there, isn't there, that you see on almost like a daily basis, or I do, and I'm just like, you know, I know that it's a load of shit, and I know to ignore it and all that, but I still see it, and it still creeps into your consciousness, and you're like, so hang on, you genuinely think that someone is working for our owners, going round the city and going like, Mick, you do a podcast. There's a bit of dough there. Have a bit of dough there, lad, just so you say the right things.
There's 100 shoes for you.
Come on. Like, you know, you need to take the tinfoil hats off, look at the bigger picture, look at how other clubs are run, look at how Man United are run. You know, is it really that bad here? Is it bollocks? We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league, and that's what we want to do. That is the point. That is the bread and butter. Only the league, my ass.
Yeah, exactly. Well, while we're talking about stuff like that, I just wanted to finish up on, because I didn't want to not talk about this, because I thought it was just absolutely genius, the public service announcement with Mo. Reeled a few people in. I messaged you on WhatsApp and we had a little discussion about that. It was quite funny. But yeah, how did that all come about then? Was that just like the cork at the top of the champagne?
Yeah, just sheer frustration really, that, you know, like I say, you know, Liverpool are on the cusp of, you know, matching Man United for 20 titles, and that's where we want, you know, there's a time where we were like, it's, you know, the club's curse, we're never going to win a title again. And here we are, like, you know, we're flying, you know, we fingers crossed, touch wood, but it's there, it's right there, isn't it? You can almost reach out and touch it. We're hopefully going to win that league. That takes us to 20. They're a shit show. Do you know what I mean? The sacking dinner ladies, you know, you can't give chips to the staff anymore, whatever else. and meanwhile, we're looking up. And you know, whatever happens in the summer, we know there's money to spend, and there should be money spent, and the club the squad needs investing in. But we've got an exciting manager, a good manager. There's not too much to moan about, despite people finding something to moan about on an almost daily basis. And I just don't get that. To me, like, you know, you're meant to enjoy all this. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be good. It's meant to be a positive thing. And when you look at that league table and see Liverpool where they are, what are you unhappy about? What are you fuming about? Why are you logging in every day and having a go at other fans? I just don't get it. And like, the vast majority of people, to be fair, when I started that podcast in that way, got it and understood. And I would say the feedback was 98% positive. Some people, you know, got some messages or whatever saying, you know, you're part of the problem. But I didn't single anyone out. I just said, are you going around calling people top reds? Do you almost want Liverpool not to win things so you can say you were right? I didn't say who those people were. I didn't say where those people came from. And I had a lot of messages with someone leaping to all kinds of conclusions. I never said any of those things. So yeah, I think one person I bumped into said, that's the most Robbo thing I've ever seen in my life.
When I saw that, this is absolutely class. It's boss. But yeah, getting Mo involved as well. Like, and I just love the little like posh voice as well, like the train voice.
Yeah. I mean, when I've seen it back, I almost think it's like feels like it's going to be like a Compo advert or something.
Yeah. Have you had a fall at work recently?
Yeah. I've got the right. Have you got the right to buy your council house?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely boss, loved it. We'll leave it there. Nice one for
Thanks for having us on.
Nice one for jumping on. And like we said before, if you aren't signed up to the Spirit of Shankly, then yeah, the link to it will be in the description. So get over and do that. Be a nice one for jumping on. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another episode of Pint and a Pint. And yeah, we'll see you all very soon to that.
I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to the Copite Podcast.